Part 20, how I became an international smuggler. Got caught, well, that's debatable, and worked my way through the federal prison system in the United States. How I paid the ultimate price, and how the smallest decisions can definitely last with you and impact your life years later. What an intro. So, where were we? We're up to, over the next week, Mum started to get a bit better, and that gave us some hope. We always try and be positive. We've had a fair bit of loss even up to that point in our family, and just tried to be positive. And I just talked to Mum like I was talking to her just the day before. And the doctor said, look, if she starts getting a little bit better, we'll move her down to Brisbane and work on getting some rehab. And look, there was a bit of a glimmer of hope. I knew that essentially my family was sort of falling apart a little bit. Dad just buried his head in the sand. He went back to work, doing odd job, like he was working for some company just as a chippy. And Dave was working. I had another sibling, but that's a long story. And but there was a lot of visits from family and so forth. And look, the whole North American thing was so far back, and over the next week or so, I just knew that I had to come back to Australia, and I knew that I had to sort of help, let's say, Dad and Dave get through this, and like it was going to be the time that I really needed to be there. And it wasn't going to be a short process. I knew that. Yeah, the old girl had an impact. She was one of my best friends. We grew up together. So I was getting a bit of heat from back in Canada, just saying, hey, is there any chance you can come back for one day? So I talked it over with Dad and Dave, and I said that oh no, this is not going to be a short process. I'd left everything so open and not closed off in Canada, and I had every intention, like I wanted to just go back there for 48 hours, wrap everything up, and then come back to Australia for 6 months and get this all sorted out. And whether we'd take anything we could, I thought, because I had been there when Mum was sick the first time and came over, and I was there for about a month, and she got better, and I felt that possibly this, whether it was naivety or whatever, that it could actually it could happen again, or was happening again. So I said that I would duck back to North America, and I'd be back in 3 days. So look, Dave said to me, big fella, I don't know what you do now, but not a lot of people fly halfway around the world, and then I'll be back in 3 days. We're just a couple kids from Central Queensland. Not that important, but yeah. Look, there's things I'll always regret. Make no mistake, I pay the price. So, agreed to head back, and I still felt like the old girl had some time in her. We were sitting there. It's one of those funny situations. I'm trying to stay looking into the camera. It's one of those funny situations that you everyone handles it differently, and everyone handles it differently, and this is the way that we were going to do it. So I agreed that I would come back for about 48 hours on the ground, and then be back. So off, booked a flight and made my way down to Sydney. And you know those sliding door moments, especially down to Sydney. I got down there in the morning and all the flights sort of lined up, and I was going to fly from Sydney, this time from Sydney to Los Angeles up to Vancouver. And got on the plane, and my God, this plane wouldn't start. We sat on the tarmac for 6 hours at Sydney. 6 hours that plane wouldn't start for. I think we went through one whole meal service almost before. I actually phoned my dad at the time and said, mate, if this thing doesn't start soon, I've had it, I'm getting off. And he said, yeah, just give it 20 more minutes, big fella, and if it doesn't start, then bounce. You know, it's those sliding door moments, isn't it? 10 minutes later, that jet fires up. We're taxiing out. I sort of, 48 hours, I knew I'd be back. I'd be back in 48 hours. 48 hours, I'd be back. So plane fires up and off we go off to Los Angeles on an overnight 12.5-hour flight. So, yeah, didn't get a lot of sleep. I don't think I got any sleep, actually thinking back. There was no sleep. And we're going to get into LA. I think I had a hotel booked just sort of have a shower and before I could catch the next connecting flight. And I still remember looking out the window as we're coming into LA. And I will never forget what the pilot said. And the pilot said, could everyone have their passports opened upon exiting the aircraft? I remember hearing those words, but it didn't sink in. It did not sink in. Could everyone have their passports open upon exiting the aircraft? Okay, that's weird. Looked at my partner at the time and said, you have the passports? Yep. So I took my passport. I believe she was behind me, and it was back in those days, 747s were still flying. So, you know, there was people coming down. It was quite a lot of people to get off. And as we exited, I remember seeing some of the flight crew there, and there were a couple of customs agents. You know, in the US they have the black border patrol people. And as I handed him my passport, the world stopped. The world stopped, because right then I see him look directly at me and just look back, and it was like nobody else was there. It was just all those people parted, and all I could see was a sea of blue jackets. And on those blue jackets, it just had icy. So I didn't understand what it meant. You know, still, call me a moron, call me anything. I didn't understand. So I said, Mr. Smith, would you mind coming with us? And I said, yeah, sure. Okay. He said, we'll go down and get your bags. No worries at all. Stay tuned. This is where it gets real. It gets real from this point on, people.